horizon, and a day it all came true. Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, oh home sweet home, home sweet home.
Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
How's everybody in the land of COVID doing? I'm excited, man. Today I've got a fantastic guy, a good friend in the studio, so I'm not going to give you my normal diatribe, soapbox preaching that I normally like to do to get this thing started. Gavin Johnson's with me. How you doing, Gavin?
Got it. Doing good.
Gavin Johnson and Brooke Johnson, the dynamic duo, a married couple with a lot of energy, have been number one in our office 2 years in a row, which is, if you think about it, we've been around about 2 years. So Gavin's been leading the group with the Alpine group, headquartered in Leavenworth. But you know what I thought we'd do today, Gavin, if it's all right with you, is every once in a while we do talk about real estate on the show. So today I thought we'd do that. And I was just curious if you could dive in to what kind of went through your thought process as you were thinking about Keller Williams. And at the time, I think it was around the end of 2018,
Yep.
we were a fledgling young idea in this area of North Central Washington and started here right at 1111 North Mission Street in Wenatchee, right across from McDonald's. But not that many people knew what Keller Williams was around
Right.
here. It was kind of the KW stood for Keller Who. Right. So
Right.
maybe if you could just dive in and I'd like to do this in the three segments that we have here before we listen to Prime Lending and Michael Maher in the last segment, is just talk about where you were when you first heard about Keller Williams. In this first segment, kind of tell us about your real estate background, how you and Brooke landed in Leavenworth, or your story. And then maybe in the middle, we go through where you're at now, what you've been doing, and how you got there. And then in that third segment, maybe we could just dive into where you think the market's going and where's the Alpine Group going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So kind of stepping all the way back to actually getting into real estate was back in 2014. And I just had a thought on the way to Home Depot, believe it or not. I broke my toilet. And so I was on the way to get new parts, and I just thought, man, I should really think about real estate. When I walked into Home Depot, I actually saw a acquaintance that was a part-time realtor, and the first thing he said to me was, you should think about real estate. I didn't say anything about the thought I had on the way to Home Depot, and in that moment, I didn't question it. I'm a person that believes in all things are meant to be, all things are purposeful, and so I just jumped right on it. So anyway, I launched into real estate in 2014, joined up with a company, a small boutique brokerage out of Leavenworth, and nothing bad to say. Wonderful people, wonderful brokerage. They're running their business the best way they know how to. As 2018 started to roll on, I started to learn more and more about Keller Williams. Keller Williams had just come into the Valley in May. And believe it or not, the recruiter, Taylor Stimmel, was one of my clients. I actually sold a house to him in Leavenworth a couple years prior. And so him approaching me, learning about Keller Williams and what it was all about, really, for me, the transition mentally happened when I picked up the book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And I know that title in and of itself may seem, what's the word I'm looking for?
That's kind of cocky, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit
arrogant.
a little bit like, all right, now you're chasing big money kind of a thing. And it's interesting. I'm not necessarily fueled by finance as much as I am by opportunity. I'm addicted to opportunity. Every time I see a window, I step through it. Whether or not I drop straight to the ground or fly high, I love opportunity. And that's the thing that Keller Williams, in reading that book, it started to click for me. I know Gary Keller was speaking my language. For the longest time, I had all these questions and these big ideas, and I realized he's already thought of those ideas.
Yeah, it's funny we call it the Red Book, the MREA book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And it's funny that he's talked about how he named it. And he said, do you think anybody would read it if it was the Thousandaire Real Estate book? Because I had to name it something.
No.
But, in there he says you build your businesses on the shoulders of giants and stop reinventing the wheel every single morning.
Right. And what was really cool about that book too is he highlighted many different realtors throughout the country that were doing it in big ways, and they weren't necessarily all Keller Williams agents. He just wanted to showcase those that were doing it the way that was most profitable and helpful. And money is only good for the good it can do, right? And so making good money doesn't necessarily have to be selfish and greedy. Making good money could be pouring it all back into your community. I mean, allocate those funds to do big things. You can't do big things with no money.
Yeah, I love that, we'll get into your business model too, but generosity and selflessness is a part of your business plan. And I think gratitude is a very serious component of being selfless, and I think that does come back. There's thousands of examples of it, but I've lived it. And I admire that about you and your team. When you started, in fact, we just last month finished a digital family reunion, but I think when we first met, weren't you right out of the gates pretty much heading to family reunion?
Yeah, and thankfully I had a gracious DB that offered a free ticket for me to go, which was super cool because I was obviously still on the fence and making a big transition and a big decision in life. And I would say that gracious offer to go to family reunion was a big deal. I think that's where I stepped into a space and realized, wow, I'm entering in and joining into something much, much bigger than myself. You get to be a part of something huge.
Yeah, I think that big thinking, when you can get the ego and put it away for a minute or two and realize that through humility, you can achieve your goals. And all of a sudden you realize, wow, there's some people at a high level that maybe don't live here, but boy, I can learn something today and tomorrow and the next day.
Right.
And that's the thing about real estate that I love. It's infinite, right? It never stops.
Right.
Yeah, so you seize that opportunity, and just for the people that aren't aware, if you're thinking about joining our firm right now, which we are talking to a lot of people as we are speaking here today, we have until April 12th to absorb all of those classes and all of those expert advisor sessions that we just went through for 4 days, which was now the digital family reunion with the COVID virus. So, man, talk about an opportunity that somebody could come in. Would you say that would change real estate for anybody that wanted to spend a day with just watching those classes?
Oh, 100%. And what's really cool about making that transition to Keller Williams, and again, listen, there's many brokerages out there that are wonderful. They probably treat you really well. Splits might be decent. Making that change may seem like a bigger burden than a benefit. But listen, I'm just telling you, when you join up with a team that not only allows you to prosper as an agent and trains you how to be a great agent in this market, but then goes ahead and trains you how to be a business owner, starts a team, create opportunities for other people in your sphere. I mean, there's limitless opportunities with this firm that I just haven't found anywhere else. And I get it. I understand the pause. It took me a while to kind of take that leap of faith and just say, Gavin, you have what it takes. Now, joining up with someone like Keller Williams, who has everything else that it takes, that's when everything clicked for me.
Yeah, well, and it's a fluid world, right? I mean, as we've figured out in 2020, last spring with the COVID virus, right? When you think you got something figured out, the world has a way of throwing curveballs.
Totally.
At your life, at your business, and leaning into people that are transparent. For me personally, that's one of the things that I thought was fascinating, but I had always been in Lake Chelan. For the most part, I always had an independent brokerage, so I never really was able to gather knowledge from other people. I was one of those guys that had to reinvent the wheel every day, and frankly, it's exhausting after 30 years, man.
It is.
And I was looking around, too, for the same thing, not that long before you. Like you said, we opened in May. You joined us later that year. And the transparency and the willingness of people to give time and education to everyone.
It's incredible.
It's hard to describe, isn't it? Because I know it sounds like a sales pitch of some kind.
It does, and it seems too good to be true. Sometimes you're like, really? There's other millionaire real estate agents turning around and teaching the entire company how they're doing it? The answer is Yes, literally over and over and over times 1,000. It's happening all the time. And we're doing the same thing. You know, now we're in a position where I'm turning around and trying to teach my team exactly what I know so they can thrive in the market. That's just, again, I just have not seen it anywhere else.
Yeah, so let's pause on that button for a minute. So you started, you were licensed. Was Brooke licensed also at the beginning?
She was.
Okay.
She just got licensed.
Yeah. So you guys were just kind of operating as a solo team, just you and your wife, Brooke, doing really well at the boutique brokerage. Now you've transitioned, and you say the word team. Now you have the Alpine group. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how did that work? How did that become a thing?
You bet. So actually, that happened from my second visit at Family Reunion, going down to Dallas. I got to sit next to Cody Gibson. He owns United Home Group, huge company within Keller Williams brand. And he shared some tidbits with me that just started sparking some thought. And so what Alpine Group's about and what we're up to and the trajectory we're on is we now have 5 licensed agents, not including Brooke and I, so 7 total, in our office that are working hard every single day to learn the market, learn the client, and just get better as real estate agents. And so anyway, now we have 5 in-house that are running around making sales, and they're starting to become very productive. We're seeing them throw sales together very quickly, which is really exciting for them and for us. And actually now we're starting to poke around in other markets. We're looking to expand. And I have a business coach. I actually joined up with MAPS Coaching. It's an internal coaching platform through Keller Williams, and that's been instrumental in pushing our business forward. I'd say that's made all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you are exemplifying what Keller Williams can do. Doesn't have to do that for everybody. It's not like you have to build a team. These are just opportunities. These are just different ways of doing real estate, and that's the beautiful thing about real estate. If you're thinking about real estate, or if you think you're stuck in real estate, we have Keller Williams has kind of figured out a way to get you unstuck.
Right.
Hey, when we come back for the next segment, I want to continue talking about what the Alpine Group is, where it is, who's on your team, and kind of what's been going on in the current market, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Keller Williams.